Hello everyone, welcome to Science and Tech series with Dr. Rana. I hope all of you are in high spirits. Topic for today's lecture is cytokine storm. Currently the world is witnessing COVID-19 pandemic and over 1 lakh people have already lost their lives. Yes, the fatality rate of this flu is just 4% and majority of casualties are in age bracket over 60. But it cannot be said that young people in 20 to 50 bracket are immune to this disease. A lot of them have already lost their lives. So what explains the young healthy individual who are doing absolutely fine collapse in matter of just 2 weeks? So this is where the theme cytokine storms comes into picture. It's not the first time that a flu is claiming lives of young ones. If we go back in history, in 1918, just when World War I had ended, the world witnessed Spanish flu pandemic, which claimed over 50 million lives. And majority of people who got infected at that time were young population. And even in swine flu and avian flu, some of the deaths which are of young population are attributed to this cytokine storm. So what exactly is this cytokine storm? We first have to understand how the current virus is infecting individuals, and then I will link the theme to the cytokine storm. So we have seen that in the COVID-19 there is a virus which is an RNA virus. It is SARS coronavirus 2. It's spreading through droplet infection, that is sneezing, coughing, and the healthy individual when comes in contact, he either inhales or ingests the droplets carrying the virus. It enters its oral cavity or nasal cavity. Eventually it settles down in our lower respiratory tract, and where we have our main respiratory organ, lungs. In lungs, the structural and functional unit of lungs is described as an alveoli, which are air sacs and which have the specific cells which are involved in the exchange. So here, once the virus enters, we all know all viruses are obligate parasites. They depend on synthetic machinery of host cell to divide. So once the virus enters this particular site, it starts hijacking the cell machinery and it starts dividing. This division phase in technical terms is described as replication of virus. So virus is replicating and destroying the cell structure at an alarming pace. So at this point of time, the person is asymptomatic. He is not carrying any major symptoms. And this is the problematic phase. A lot of healthy individuals are traveling and they are transmitting infection without even knowing that they are already infected. And when this tissue destruction is taking place, it cannot go on and on. Our immune system finally gets activated because a lot of tissue destruction is taking place. Inflammation comes into the picture. And once the inflammation starts, the typical soldiers of our body's defense system, the white blood cells, comes into the picture. There are various kinds of white blood cells. There is lymphocytes, neutrophils, and all are mainly directed to protect against bacteria, viruses. So this is where the term cytokines comes into the picture. This is a molecular messenger made up of proteins which coordinates the attack of white blood cells, typically lymphocytes, towards the infection site. So in this way, our body defense comes into a picture and it will try to limit the damage and control the infection. So this can take place in matter of few days, and eventually if the immune response of a healthy individual is fully capable of containing such infection, because our the reaction resilience comes into the picture, and in matter of few days the person, if is not transmitted, he will recover of its own. So this is where almost 80 to 85% people recover of their own through their own immune response. Only the symptomatic treatments are provided to contain the various symptoms which are there. Now let's come to the cytokine storm theme. In certain cases, and typically in young individuals, it is seen that when this typical immune response was taking place, it should have subsided after the infection was controlled. But in certain individuals, this infection, even after being contained, their immune response goes on, and this it fails to stop. So there is a large brush of cytokines which are released, and the typical cells which were fighting against the infectious site starts attacking their own cells which were meant to be protected by them at the first place. So large scale tissue destruction takes place and the exudates enter the alveoli, and that's the problem where it starts. It eventually leads to acute respiratory distress syndrome, and this could be complication in which you could even experience a septic shock. There is increase in heart rate, and also there is fall in blood pressure. In multiple organ failures can even result in death, and this is the phase at which the ventilator comes into the picture, and we try to save the patient. So this is cytokine storm in simple words is an exaggerated response of our own immune system against our own healthy cells. And there are typical technical terms like super antigens, cytokinase, there are even receptors comes into the picture, but that are not to be covered from general studies point of view. You just have to understand cytokines are molecular messengers made up of proteins and which are coordinating our immune response against the various infectious agents. And the cytokine storm is nothing but the exaggerated response of our own immune system which can be fatal. So to sum up, we can say our immune system is like an orchestra. When it's in rhythm, it will create magic. It will fight infection of its own. But if it goes haywire, it could be your worst nightmare. The same goes to nature and our life as well. We should act in a balanced way, otherwise things could go haywire. So I hope this session was useful for all those who are finding this theme of cytokine storm a difficult one. So thank you very much.